Hello everyone, welcome back to the weapon comparison series for Insurgency Sandstorm. I am Mr. Rain, and today we are going to be looking at the L85A2 versus the M4A1. And this is essentially a mirror battle compared to what I did in the previous episode between the Alpha AK and the AK-74. Now obviously the L85A2 is by no means an M4A1, but in regards to where they are in their classes, they are essentially the same weapons. These are basically the mirror weapons for security side to insurgent side. So the L85A2 can be found on security side under the advisor class, and the M4A1 can be found in the rifleman side, or on the rifleman class for a security side. So, looking at the L85A2, it runs a 5.56 NATO, a vertical of 24, a horizontal of 7, a velocity of 940 meters per second, a decent fire rate of 652 RPM, and a penetration of 329, a mag capacity of 30, and then full auto and single fire. The L85A2 uses 4 supply points, and it does have a compensator and foregrip for 3 points each, which is overall a relatively standard loadout in regards to your supply points. It is more expensive than the M4A1, which we will see in a moment. So let's go ahead and load this up and see what it looks like. Alright, so here's the L85. Let's go ahead and look at the irons. They're similar to what we see with the M4. The crown on the front sight is different, it's larger. Somehow that makes it better, I'm not sure why. You do get these pieces of metal on the left and right side of the irons, but overall it's a fairly clean optic, fairly simple optic, and if you've been watching this series for any length of time, you know that I like iron sights that are as minimalistic as possible. This is a little bit cluttered, but at the same time it's still very clean. So I have no real qualms about it, yeah. So let's go ahead and see what the recoil looks like. Alright, so we're going to shoot this weapon, L85A2, full auto. 3, 2, 1. So we got a bit of a clustered mess. There was horizontal recoil even though it's supposed to be low, and there's definitely a lot more vertical recoil. So compensating for the vertical, I ended up getting a lot more horizontal recoil. So as I was holding down, the gun was starting to sway left and right. Overall though, it's a pretty good cluster. It's not as tight as we've seen other weapons get, but that's still a pretty good pattern. So let's go ahead and look at the M4A1. Okay, so first off I want to apologize, I was wrong earlier. The M4A1 actually costs 5 supply points, which I did not know, or did not realize until now. I use it so often that I don't even look at the supply points. So yeah, the M4A1 uses 5 supply points, whereas the L85 uses 4, which is pretty interesting. The foregrip is there for 3 supply points, and the compensator is there for 3 supply points. Looking at the caliber, it's a 5.56 NATO, vertical of 25, horizontal of 7, so very similar in regards to the recoil. A velocity of 910, a higher fire rate of 741, a slightly lower penetration of 319, standard 30 round mag, and then full auto and single fire. So let's go ahead and load this up. Alright, so this isn't the first time that we've seen the M4A1. But let's go ahead and look at the irons. So it's going to be a lot easier to see that the L85A2 does have slightly cleaner optics than the M4A1. They are very similar. They do use the crown at the top or at the front, but the crown on the M4A1 is smaller, as you can tell. You do get a little more stuff in the back sight, and compared to the L85. The M4 has that big knob on the right and on the left side, as well as the metal brackets on the left and right. So it's slightly cluttered, but at the same time it's still minimalistic. You still get a very similar picture or very similar view as you do with the LA5, just that, you know, if anything's on your right hand side, you're not going to be able to see it. So let's go ahead and run the recoil test. Alright, so this is the M4A1. 3, 2, 1. So surprisingly enough, it did feel like it had more vertical climb than horizontal. And again, it may not look even or it may not look similar, but it's still a pretty good pattern. The vertical caught me off guard a little bit, and so my shots went high, but as soon as I was able to compensate, I was able to keep it clustered. Again, somehow I end up with this pyramid pattern every so often with the M4A1 and with the MP5. So overall, it's just still a very nice cluster, and you can tell that even though the cluster is slightly higher, it's still more condensed than the LA5, but not by a whole lot. So we're going to go ahead and reload the map and see what these weapons look like with a foregrip. Okay, and we're back. So with the L85A2, use is 4 supply points, and it really needs 3 extra in order to get a foregrip for a total of 7. As we've seen in the series, that's typically a standard price and a standard loadout. So let's go ahead and run the recoil test. So this is the L85A2 with a foregrip. 3, 2, 1. So yeah, it makes a very big difference. It was a lot easy to shoot. You see the shots down here where I kind of overcompensated, and then I was able to bring it right back to center. It's a very, very, very tight cluster. And yeah, just overall a very good result. So let's go ahead and check out the M4A1. So the M4A1 costs 5 supply points, and the foregrip costs an extra 3 for a total of 8. So it's a little pricier, but it's only by 1 supply point. So it's not a huge deal, but it does stop you from possibly getting the loadout you want. So let's go ahead and run the recoil test. Alright, so this is the M4A1 with the foregrip. 3, 2, 1. So these are fairly similar in regards to not only their stats, but also in their recoil patterns. The M4 did feel like it had a little extra kick than the L85, but I'm not going to say for sure. Overall, you can see that the pattern is pretty much the same, where overcompensated 1 shot, unless that's the first shot, and then just pretty much be able to keep my aim for the most part in the same exact spot and get a very tight cluster. So all in all, these two weapons are very similar, and it really is going to come down to iron sights and their supply points. And if I had to call out a winner, I would definitely say that the L85 would be the winner in this scenario. It's cheaper. It's cheaper by 1 supply point, and the irons are cleaner, and you also get shoots the same exact 5.56. The stats are super similar. The only thing that the M4 has really over the L85 is that the M4 does shoot at a slightly higher rounds per minute. So if you want just a little extra speed, then the M4 will definitely be the one of your choice. If you want something that's going to be a bit more stable and give you more consistent results, then it seems like the L85 will be your weapon of choice. So that will be it for this video. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.